Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. Hope we're all doing very, very well on this Friday. Those of you in the UK, it's around lunchtime or anywhere else around the world where you may or may not be watching from. Big up to everyone. We have some updates regarding the Brighton game. Not the most positive news. It seems like we've had a few days where it's just been a little bit down in the dumps, to be totally honest. Marc Guiu will not be available for this match. And there's a chance that we'll be forced to count on Jackson again, even though he really needs to be dropped. So, yeah, we're going to get into it. If you haven't already, smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel as well. We're going to be talking about everything that Enzo Maresca's said going into this match. And, yeah, we're going to go from there. Now, just to give you guys an update on Marc Guiu, this is something that came out yesterday, but not everyone may be aware. It has said that he will miss the FA Cup fourth round, so that's basically 100%. He suffered a leg abductor injury. Guiu sustained the problem during added time of Chelsea's 2-1 win over West Ham after coming on as a substitute in the second half to turn the game around. The 19-year-old stretched awkwardly in trying to convert Pedro Neto's cutback in the area and received treatment from Chelsea's physios after staying down. The forward, who joined from Barcelona for £5 million last summer, still looked in a lot of discomfort as he went down the tunnel with a member of Chelsea's staff straight after the final whistle. He has missed training sessions this week. So after the game, he wasn't available for training. He would have obviously done rehab and stuff like that on his own with the physios, but no group training for Marc Guiu as it stands. Enzo Maresca initially eased concerns in the post-match press conference after revealing Guiu had told him that he was okay. However, the club have conducted tests over the past few days with Guiu still feeling some pain in his upper leg. The issue is more serious than the players' camp first expected, with more scans planned to take place. Speaking on Friday, Maresca said the issue could be long-term and probably weeks or even months, which is very worrying, guys. I mean, I thought this was just a niggle, especially from what Maresca said, but it seems like it could be a lot worse. Nicholas Jackson also has a minor hamstring strain and will be assessed. Asked if he was confident he has enough cover in the forward areas, Maresca said yes, absolutely. Before the last game, we had two strikers, Nico and Marc. Sometimes we adapt. We also have Nkunku there, but in case both of them are out, we're going to find a different solution. That's what Enzo Maresca said. Marc Guiu has scored 8 goals in 13 appearances since coming to Chelsea, all of which have come in the Conference League. The Spaniard would have had a great opportunity to get more minutes against Brighton, but obviously that's not going to happen now. Which is a real shame. But listen, hopefully he can come back even stronger. Big up to you, Joss. I hope you're doing very well. Allege, I hope you're doing well as well, mate. Up the Chelsea. How are we feeling, guys, regarding this injury with Marc Guiu? Are we feeling confident? Are we bothered? Are we not bothered? Let's get straight up to 20 likes as well, guys. If you haven't already smashed the like button, let's get up to 20 likes. Just takes 1 minute. Click that thumbs up. All right, let's see what else is happening as well. For those of you who don't know, yesterday as well, the Premier League clubs are also considering reducing the winter transfer window to 2 weeks and closing the summer transfer window before the beginning of the season. So I just think that's crazy. I think that's very strange. So presumably that would mean that the winter transfer period, the January transfer window, would be from the 1st of January until the 14th of January. So you would have 3 weeks less, essentially, just under 3 weeks less than we have at the moment. And the summer transfer window would end in August, presumably, which, again, I'm not a fan of. I think that we need to stop tinkering with all these things. There's so many changes. Everyone's always looking to change things. Why can't we just appreciate that sometimes things are good. Things are okay. They don't need to be changed. You know, it's really annoying. You've got the Premier League coming out saying they're going to ban certain celebrations as well. I mean, what's the point? What is the point? What you've got to find something else to do. If these are the things they're trying to solve, then I'm sorry, but someone needs to be fired, because you're just finding problems for no reason. There's no logical reason to look at these issues, because they're not issues. They are not issues. But for some reason, we're still doing it. So there you go. But we'll see what happens. Those of you who don't know as well, the CST, the Chelsea Supporters Trust, came out against, released a statement for Todd Boehly and Vivid Seats amid the news that Todd Boehly has been running a third-party ticket reselling website, which does not allow fans in the UK to buy tickets, only in America, at heavily inflated prices as well. So if you haven't checked that out, I suggest you do. It's very interesting. So Maresca is, he's already come out for the Brighton game. So it'd be interesting to see what his thoughts, what he had to say. It doesn't seem like he had an awful lot in that sense. Let's see. When asked about Christopher Nkunku, Enzo Maresca said, for sure, he's going to have a bigger role. I said already, he probably against West Ham, he played more or less half an hour. Hopefully he can get more minutes to help us. Our intention was to keep him. So Enzo Maresca, as it stands, is happy with Nkunku. He wanted to keep him the whole time. And he still believes that Nkunku is part of our plans. Maybe that's another reason why the club put such a large price tag on Nkunku. They weren't actively desperate to sell him. It wasn't like, Casady, where you get the money back that you paid for him in the first place. He didn't really make a profit. I know there was a sell-on clause. But does it really help Chelsea at this moment in time to get rid of Nkunku? I don't think so. But I do think Nkunku will leave in the summer. I think it would be strange if he didn't leave. But, hey, we'll have to wait and see what happens. When asked about Marc, Guiu and Nicholas Jackson, Enzo Maresca had to say this. He said, Marc, unfortunately, it's a bad injury. Nico is better. He could be available. He could be a risk. It doesn't look like a long injury. We're still waiting for Guiu. It doesn't look like a short-term injury for him. Romeo Lavia is still in the process, and there's a long way to go for Lavia's recovery. So, yeah, lots of injury concerns. We knew in December time that if we were to keep our players, that we could probably continue to go on a decent run. But once you start losing one or two key players, they add up. And then you lose another player who's not as important, and you lack options. You're not able to have the same firepower off the bench. You're not able to start games with as much potency. And then you've got other players just not pulling their weight, which we can also speak about. Both strikers injured on the last day of the transfer window and no striker coming in. It's bonkers. It's terrible business, isn't it? It's terrible business. Unless you look to put Nkunku as a striker, that could potentially be an option, even though Maresca said that was never the case, but he still played him as a striker many times in the cup competitions. I'm Donna. Do you want to? Wagwan, Mr. Alex. Big up to you, Donna. Always good to see you in the chat. Paula, we can't keep playing 9 men. Sanchez and Jackson are rubbish. Well, I completely agree with Sanchez. I don't think Jackson's rubbish. I just think he's starved of confidence. We've seen what he could do at the beginning of the season. He still missed far too many chances. I've been a defender of Jackson. I do think he should be dropped. I think he's not been good enough over the past few games. I was heavily disappointed at the Etihad. I thought he was rubbish. Even if there's a player who's not necessarily scoring goals, I always was happy with how Jackson contributed in other areas of the pitch. And that's one thing I've always liked about the player. But if he's not contributing and he's not scoring goals, he is useless. So I think from that perspective, he's starved of confidence. You need to give him the time to regain that confidence by dropping him. I mean, that's basically what happens, isn't it? You got to drop the guy for a period of time. You need someone to come in that can do the job, and then Jackson will come refreshed. You know, sometimes being in the limelight all the time is the worst thing ever. It's like in any job, right? If you don't have a break, then you're going to run yourself into the ground. And I think that's what's happening with Jackson. It's clearly a confidence issue. He needs to reassess what he's doing. He needs to regain some of his mojo. And Maresca is a part of that as well. If Maresca keeps chucking him in the deep end and we continue to have this downfall, then it's very difficult to back it. I mean, but at the same time, you have to look at it from Maresca's perspective, which is, are you really going to count on Marc Guiu to come in and win all these matches for us? Jackson's clearly more proven than Marc Guiu. So where do we go? But then I thought Marc Guiu come on against West Ham and made a really good impact. And also, he's actually a big boy. People look at Marc Guiu and seem to, whenever we speak about him, it's like he's some small player who can't win aerial duels. He's not physical enough. It's just not true. He's young. He's very young, but he's built. He's a strong bloke. So I think he's perfectly capable of coming in and doing a job. Now, whether he's going to score a lot of goals is another question, but I think he can offer a lot of the things that Jackson was offering anyway. Bring the goals into it, you've basically got a like for like. So Marc Guiu definitely deserves an opportunity in my book, but it'd be interesting to see what you think as well, Paula. Do you think that Marc Guiu is capable of stepping in and doing a job for us? I don't think that they will do that unless the rest of the leagues across Europe agree to it. You're talking about the transfer windows, cutting them short. That's a fair point. I agree. If it's in Spain and all these other different leagues, then maybe they'll follow suit. But these things will take years to get done. I don't think anything's going to happen right now. Thank you very much, Donna. You love men with beards. There you go. I'm sure you love Enzo Maresca. The Monkey Gaming, hope you're doing well, mate. Good to see you. Big up to you. Todd can do what he wants. If people want to pay extra for tickets, that's okay. He's running a business. The more money he makes, the better. Paula, I am in two minds about this. There is the part which you are absolutely right. It's a business and businesses are there to make money, but this is a moral situation with regards to Vivid Seats. It's a moral situation. We know that Bowley can make money from different things in the club, as can Clearlake, and they will. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. They will. But the extent as to how they are making money, that's the worry, isn't it? It's not just the fact that they're putting season ticket prices up. It's not just the fact that, we're going to see everything become more expensive in and around Stamford Bridge, which is the Americanization. Unfortunately, that is the Americanization effect. But what we're going to see is, well, we've already seen it. I don't know why I say we're going to see. We've already seen it. They've sold the hotels to themselves. They've sold every aspect of the club to themselves. So if anyone wanted to come in and buy Chelsea Football Club, and let's just say a Saudi owner come in and put in an offer of whatever, 3 billion, so they're able to make a profit. I think that's 500 million straight away. That's just 3 billion for Chelsea. That doesn't include the assets that Chelsea already owned, like the hotels, like the training ground, like the women's team. So in that respect, what they're doing it's obviously a way of making money, but it's quite worrying. It is worrying because they're pricing a lot of people out of being able to buy the club if they did want to sell, and essentially they're milking it for every penny. So there's running a business and there's neglecting fans and just putting the football club in a position where it's not healthy. It's not going to be healthy. All of the revenues that are being made from these other aspects, I presume, are not going back into Chelsea. I would guess that it's probably the other way around, and they're going back into the pockets. So that's the situation at the moment, guys. That's where I stand on it. I technically would be a tourist if I go to the match, as I live in New York City, but there are correct channels to go through that I do not hinder local fans, but it's super expensive on Vivid. Yeah, it's very expensive, mate. Very expensive. But, you know, when I speak to a lot of the American fans, you guys, that's what you pay anyway, which is unfortunate because you don't understand how much they're taking advantage of you. They're taking the piss, mate, these owners in America. They're taking the piss. Look, I can appreciate that tickets would be high. They're not. It's a luxury to go and watch these football matches, but how much higher can it go? How much more expensive is it going to get? The answer is a lot more, and that's the unfortunate truth. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a fair point. People hating on Jackson. He's 23. We literally have a striker curse, and we're fourth. Yes, that's frustrating that everyone needs to chill. No, it's true. It's true, Zach. It's true. We are fourth, but I think looking at the January window, the business that we've done, the business that other teams have also done, is important to establish. Well, not establish. Understand. You know, do you feel confident? Based on what you've seen in January, based on what you've seen Man City do, based on what you've seen Aston Villa doing, based on the fact that we're probably going to finish behind Liverpool and Arsenal. So those are two spots we can't compete for. Newcastle have a top striker. They, they're in good form. They've picked it up. And then you've got Nottingham Forest, who don't look like they're giving away any points at the moment. I know they lost. Actually, no, they beat Brighton 7-0, didn't they? I'm sure they lost the game as well against Bournemouth. Oh, yeah, and you got Bournemouth up there as well. So you're competing against a lot more teams than you would expect in this top four race. Usually you'd have 6 teams, maybe. You'd have Tottenham, you'd have United in a round. They've been replaced. Actually, I'll take that back then. But it's still difficult, isn't it? It's still very competitive. Jackson runs, he presses, he keeps running and running. We should support the effort at the very least. Yeah, you're right. But you've got to do more than just run. But I agree with that. He's better than a lot of the other strikers that we've had. If you look at strikers we've had in the past and you were to compare Nicholas Jackson to those strikers, I think that we can be quite grateful in a lot of ways. You know, I take Jackson over Morata. I take Jackson over Higuain. I take Jackson over Tammy Abraham. I take Jackson over a lot of these players. So does that mean he's still the best striker out there? No, but I'm happier with him than I would have been with them. We need to beat Brighton tomorrow. I don't care if we lose them in the league. We need the FA Cup. I think some Chelsea fans might even think the opposite. I mean, and I think that Enzo Maresca would probably think the opposite as well. I'm not saying we're not going to take it seriously, but if you look at the way we handled the Carabao Cup, we didn't take that competition seriously whatsoever. So if we do anything like that in the FA Cup, then I think there's a good chance we lose. But having said that, Brighton have taken a dip in form as well, and we're going to have a preview on that later tonight. There's going to be an 8 o'clock show, which I think I'll be running. I'll be running the 8 o'clock show today. It might be slightly later, but around sort of 8 o'clock, I will be doing more of a preview on that game. This is really just to address some of the news and then talk about anything else that's relevant at the moment. But I will be doing a full preview in the evening. Not all about hard working. It's no more about talent. You have to work off the ball. Forest in the top 4 because they work hard. Life a team. Okay, yeah, they are a very hard-working team. That's fair enough. Not a fan of Jackson by the looks of it. You take Jackson over Higuain, and I'm Argentinian. Fair enough. Yeah, I absolutely despise Higuain. He was a terrible signing. I never liked him. God, I didn't like Higuain. I remember when we played Leicester away, and I think that was a 0-0 with Sarri. and we were chanting Tammy Abraham's name because Higuain was so rubbish. Top four is looking unavailable, even though we're there. That's the thing, isn't it? It's all about faith. I ask you in the chat, do you have any? I'd lose tomorrow. Top four and conference is a brilliant first year for Maresca. It sounds like you're hating on the team, but I actually understand where you're coming from. I would rather finish in the top four than win the FA Cup, because then we get Champions League football. I mean, it sounds terrible, doesn't it? We'd still get a trophy with the Conference League, but FA Cup is only going to give us Europa League football anyway. At worst, we finish top five and still get European football. We've got 41 people in the chat. Big up to everyone at the moment. Can we get up to 40 likes on the video? Can we get up to 40 likes? Smash the like button if you haven't already. And listen, I'm going to go through some of the other comments that have been made by Enzo Maresca on this upcoming match. Keep me posted in the chat on what we're on as well, because I can't see. I can never see it. Okay. So we know that Marc Guiu is going to be out. Nicholas Jackson is looking better, but he's still a risk for this game. There is a chance he could still feature. I presume we'll probably see Nkunku play minutes in this match as well. Now, when asked about Joao Felix, Enzo Maresca had this to say. He said, nothing happened. Players train every day and want to play all the games, but just 11 are playing. We decided altogether that it was a good option to leave. He never complained. So when we question the attitude of players like Joao Felix, it's I still question the attitude, to be fair, irrespective of whether he's complaining or not. I do question the attitude, because if you had the true belief in yourself as a player, if you had that true confidence, you wouldn't jump ship. You would fight for your place if you really wanted to be here. Now, I've had this argument with people as well, and they go, well, the guy just wants minutes. And that's fine. I respect that. I've got no problem with a player wanting to play. I mean, God, that's your job, isn't it? If you can't do your job, it seems a bit pointless while you're training in the first place. What's the point of even being a football player? But I do think that it was a mistake letting Joao Felix go. What we did is we cut our arsenal. We had options that we could bring off the bench at any given time, and we have stripped ourselves of some of those options. Now, if you look at some of the players we got rid of, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. Disasi was never really going to play. So the fact that we were going to accept a loan bid for him made perfect sense. Now, it was a bit silly that we turned down a £6 million loan bid from Aston Villa because Tottenham come out and they wanted Disasi, and we wanted to give him to Tottenham over them because they're our Champions League rivals. But then we accepted a £5 million loan bid. But look, it's money that's going to come in. His wages are going to be covered. And we had a release today from it was some sort of PR. The loan deals that we did covered the transfers that we brought in. We got Sarr for Strasbourg, if I'm not wrong, and we also obviously got I can never remember his name. Amougou, Chelsea signing. Amougou, I can never pronounce his name. Kira Walsh. That's not the one I'm looking for. Fuck's sake. Does it annoy you? It annoys me so much because my head just goes blank. Amougou. I was close enough. So his transfer fee, as well as the signing that we made for Strasbourg, that was all covered with loan fees. You had 5 million for Disasi, 5 million or 6 million for Vega, which is almost 50% of what we paid for him anyway. That is good business financially, but it's not a good business from a football standpoint. You can't say that Disasi's a good loan financially either, because I don't really understand how that makes any sense. You paid like 40 million for the guy. So unless you're going to send him on loan, God knows how many times, you're not going to get the money that you paid for him. So that's certainly a concern. Yeah, but Joao Felix, look, he wanted to get game time. He scored on his AC Milan debut as well. For those of you who don't know, he scored a little chip goal. It was quite a nice one to watch, but very, very comfortable. It wasn't too difficult to convert that one. I would have been surprised if he hadn't scored that one for us. So again, Joao Felix, when Enzo Maresca was asked about him, he said he's been very good with us. It's just a matter of my decision why he didn't play as much as he wanted to. The reason why we need defensive balance, when you have so many attacking players, you can concede, and I don't like that. So Maresca talking about balance again. This is a theme that we've heard him speaking about many, many times. And I don't think that's ever going to change by the looks of it. He's sticking to his principles. When asked about the Conference League knockout squad submission, Enzo Maresca said it depends a little bit on the injury of the last game. We will decide in the next hours. So that is something that we're going to find out in not too long. Hopefully that information comes out before sort of 8-9 o'clock, and then I can go through it this evening when we do our next show. When asked about the January transfer window, Enzo Maresca said, the things that we planned, we did everything in terms of players that deserve to leave and the players that we need. At the end, I think we all did the things that we need. So, yeah, from that perspective, you would guess that Maresca is happy, but I think the question is this all PR? Is it bullshit? Should we actually believe a word that's coming out of this man's mouth based on that comment? I think that there's two sides to it. He said openly that he didn't enjoy coaching Chelsea in January. Is that because of the fact that we had a bloated squad and we had players that wanted to play that couldn't play? Is that because of the opposite? Is that because he wanted more signings, more help, and he didn't get any of it from up above? So let me know what you guys think. Zach says that we only need one or two experienced players, and that would make a huge difference. I completely agree with you on that, Zach. Alejo would love to bring Tomori back. I wouldn't be against that signing either, but when Chalobah came in, that was I think that was the option, wasn't it? You could have brought Tomori, but Chalobah was a cheaper option for us. We're still going to sell him anyway. So it's really not a footballing decision. It is in terms of bringing him back, but it's not in terms of what we're planning to do with him long term. This squad building is biting us in the arse. Absolutely, mate. You've hit the nail on the head there. Right-footed left back. We definitely need experience at the back. That is glaring. If the sporting directors can't see that, then why do they have a job? Yeah. Well, we need experience all over the pitch. But if there's one area we can look at and say, I think we've set ourselves up quite well. We've got a decent midfield. If Lavia is fit, you've got Santos coming back. You've got Nkunku, who's going to come back in the summer. I'd like all of those players to be in the squad, especially with Champions League football. You then look at the wings. We've got Pedro Neto, Sancho as well, who I think are more than capable. Madueke, still a question mark in my eyes. Mudryk, we don't even know if he's going to ever play again because we haven't heard back on the second sample. Who else do we have? We've got a lot of youth players that could come in, but they'll potentially be moved on anyway. So the wingers, I still think we can improve in that aspect. My perspective on it, though, is very simple. I think that you can easily play Palmer on the right-hand side. I think that we've seen Palmer play at his best on the right wing under Poch. And you can say what you want about Poch, but one thing that I will say about Poch is he got a lot out of certain players, and players that aren't necessarily performing as well under Maresca, they did perform for Poch. They were better under Poch. And that's no criticism. That's just, that's just how it is. That's a fact. You look at certain players and you say, well, are you getting better or worse under Maresca? Nicholas Jackson looks like he's getting worse. Under Poch, he was getting better. Nkunku looks like he's getting worse. Under Poch, he would have probably been a key player, and when he did feature, he performed very well. What do you think about the progression of Noni Madueke? I thought he progressed quite well from the beginning of last season to the end of the season. I still don't know what to think based on this year. I think he's better defensively, but he's not converting his chances. Palmer, is he better this season than last season? So, you know, Disasi as well would have suited the system we played last year. Gusto. And again, this is not a criticism of Maresca. I like Maresca. I'm a fan of him. But when you look at the recruitment that we've done, how many of these players naturally suit what Maresca's doing anyway? Some of them do, some of them don't. And some of our best players from last season, some of our key assets, are no longer really going to suit what we're doing. And we're going to have to move them on because of that in the future. Otherwise, they're just dead wood. They're not going to help us. Gusto can't play in this system. Disasi couldn't play in this system. You know, so those are just two players. There's obviously more, but I hope we can. I hope we can see some progressions in any cycle. There's going to be dips, right? Any cycle, you're not just going to have that up cycle. You won't. And if you do, then fair enough. But it's very unlikely. We had our high in December, and we got dropped down to reality in January. But hopefully, December we can pick up from that dip and show that there is a little bit of support. There's you know, we're not going to allow this team to keep dropping down the table. We've not cemented ourselves as a title challenging team, but we are clearly in the race for top four, and we clearly have enough quality, but do we have enough depth? And that's the question, because if that quality is then unavailable because of injuries, we find ourselves in a very, very sticky situation. Again, my thoughts on Noni. Not a great fan of Noni, to be honest with you, based on what I've seen under Maresca. I thought that last season he progressed well. I don't think he's progressing that well this season. I think he's improving in aspects. He's less selfish than he was, but his attacking prowess has been poor. That's the truth. It's been very poor. We are Chelsea Finance Club instead of Chelsea Football Club, and that is sad. Absolutely. I mean, that's one way of putting it. It is very sad, though, when you put it like that, Zoltan. Big up to you, mate. I agree with Alex. That is how you put Nkunku in the squad. It gives more creativity on the pitch. I'm guessing you're talking about having Palmer on the right-hand side. That's exactly what I would do. I would play Palmer on the right. You've got to remember as well, especially when you have teams with a low block, who is the player? What is the position that is surrounded the most, that has the least amount of space? It's the number 10. Okay. And that's not to say that Palmer's not capable of finding the spaces, but you have other players that are clearly capable of operating in those spaces, and that is their preferred position. You know that you're going to get more out of Nkunku if you play him as a 10. You also know you're going to get more out of Joao Felix as a 10. But now Joao Felix is out of the conversation. You also had Chukwuemeka as well. So you had 3 players. On top of Palmer. Yeah, you have Palmer and those 3 players. So by playing Palmer on the right, you have a track record based on last season that he is going to perform and score more and contribute more goals and assists, just based on last season, because he's not doing as well this year as he was last year. He's not a standout player as much. He's still a top player. He's still our best player. Nobody's disputing that. But why are you neglecting players that can perform very well, but they're just not being given an opportunity? We talk about balance. You don't think that Palmer would put in a shift defensively? He's still a hard worker, guys. This is not Messi. He's not walking around off the ball. He's pressing. He's tracking back. He's getting involved. You're telling me that Palmer's not capable of tracking back and helping his defenders? He helps his midfielders. He initiates the press. It's literally the same thing in a different position. You're going up, down, up, down. Look, if you're that concerned about it, look, Maresca doesn't even want overlapping fullbacks. Just sit. Sit if that's the case. Don't expose yourself. So it's certainly an option that I would explore. I think it makes perfect sense. And I would like to see Nkunku play more in the 10. And maybe that will get more out of Jackson as well, because he'll have more service, because he'll have not just help in the middle from the 10, but he'll have a winger who actually gives him support, real support, creative support, service. Not that he hasn't had service this season. He certainly has, but you'd rather have more service than less. How good would it look if we had Neto or Sancho on the left? At this moment in time, it would probably be Neto. Then you have Nkunku in the middle with Jackson just in front of him. And then you had Palmer on the right-hand side. That would be brilliant. You have Caicedo and Enzo. Great ball-playing ability. You got defensive stability as well in the midfield with Caicedo. Okay, fine. Maybe you don't want to have a fullback running up and down. You could still do it if you wanted Gusto to get involved. He's not great at inverting, if we're totally honest. Reece James, though, just get him to sit. It's not an issue. Cucurella can invert as well. James can invert. I think it's a system that makes sense. Not a fan of false nine, to be honest with you, Marlon. No, we saw it last season. It's not something that I'd want to do. Poch did try it though. I think we need to not make Champions League or Europe. The club needs a wake-up call. No, don't think that's... I think we need it. We will be in the mud if we don't get Champions League football. And I don't know about you, but I don't want us to be in the mud. So can't say I agree with that. But I respect your opinion. Have we had any more updates regarding anything else as well? I'm just going to double check because last time there was quite a few things going on. Okay. So there has been something that's come up regarding Chelsea's new acquisition of Matisse Amougou. So I'm just going to share my screen with you, actually, so that you can see what I'm seeing. This is London's first. So Chelsea's acquisition of Matisse Amougou raised eyebrows, but it actually makes a lot more sense. Let's see if this article makes any sense. Amougou is a young 19-year-old midfielder signed from St Etienne for an estimated fee of around 12 million. He was part of the French under-17 team that came runners-up in the FIFA Under-17 World Cup of 2023. He hasn't played a lot of professional football as of now, and when he hasn't been incredible, and when he hasn't been incredible. This is all an understandable aspect of his development, especially given St Etienne have been nothing short of awful for the majority of the season. It is a definite fact, however, that he's been gradually looking more competent as he clocks up minutes. And it will probably be something that Chelsea's board and scouting departments are leaning on. Now, when we look at the amount of minutes that Amougou's played, he's played 17 games. Now, that doesn't mean he's started for 17 games. He's been involved in 17 games. And I am including 3 or 4 minutes against Lyon. So when we talk about the fact that he hasn't played many games, he's played fuck all, respectfully. He's not played much at all. So very risky acquisition. And before I read the rest of it, his market value when we signed him was 4.7 million euros. We signed him for 12. So that's an inflated price. We're paying triple his market value. So initially, it doesn't look like great business when you look at it from that perspective. But let's see what the article has to say anyway. Why? Is it Max who wrote this? Oh, Henry wrote this. Okay, I don't know who Henry is. Why Henry believes we signed him. He's a top talent. He's actually someone that I've been on the lookout for a while, and someone I always felt would get a move to the Premier League eventually. What a load of shit. What a load of shit. I mean, fucking hell. Can you? Nobody knew who this guy. You don't tell me you knew who he was. You're not watching St. Etienne every week. What a load of rubbish. Anyway, for one, I'm glad he'll be a Chelsea player and no one else is. It's also a good move to appease Strasbourg, as we're probably going to take Santos back next season. Next season, he'll likely be sent on loan to get minutes and gain valuable experience in a league that's, stylistically speaking, is the best for developing young players for the Premier League in conjunction with the Championship. So in all those senses, the signing makes complete sense from a squad building perspective. If the idea is to have 5 midfielders next season, which makes sense, especially as we'll play 3-3-4 more often. Three, 4. Who's the 4? I guess he's talking about the inverting. He's talking about the inverting players as well, presumably. Fair enough. 3-3-4 more often than you think. Then Amougou is a perfect project player to develop on loan, while Guiu and Santos come and reinforce the current squad. So essentially, what he's saying is that Santos and Nkunku are going to come back, and he is a player that is going to be sent on loan to Strasbourg. If the idea is to have 5 midfielders, yeah, I've already said that. Now, I completely understand the sentiment that we are yet again signing a completely inexperienced youthful player that doesn't raise the floor of the team. Trust me, I am one of the most infuriated by this common occurrence. However, in this instance, it kind of makes sense. I could have understood the idea of learning a midfielder like Douglas Luiz from now on until the end of the season as midfield cover short. But to be fair, Douglas Luiz was not available. I don't think Juventus were going to let him go on loan. But the alternative is to buy young talent, let him get some minutes and acclimatise to Chelsea, and then send him on loan to Strasbourg as we bring in midfield support we already own. To me, the latter makes a lot more sense. Yes, say Caicedo and Enzo get injured, we will have to play someone with less than 1,000 minutes of professional football under his belt. But I'm not sure we really have another choice. Yes, we do. Sign an experienced player or recall Nkunku or Santos anyway, because they're coming back irrespective. You don't need to spend the extra £12 million. Anyway, let's continue. There simply wasn't an experienced, cheap option out there that provides the profile we need. And I also don't feel as though loaning someone offers the same long-term benefits as signing Amougou would provide. Overall, if Amougou is to get minutes in the Conference League games or at the end of the Premier League games, I do feel like it's a pretty wise signing from the director. Yeah, well, look, I appreciate the squad building acts. I appreciate that aspect, the fact that it's a squad building acquisition. I can appreciate that, but you know, it's if we miss out on Champions League football, then we're going to blame these type of signings. These are the type of signings that we're going to blame. Nothing else. Okay, he's extremely raw at the moment. He's played less than 1,000 minutes. He's only 177 centimeters tall and a long way to go development-wise, but at the same time, he's a top talent. He reads the game well, and he's tidy on the ball and good in tight situations. So you could almost compare him to Lavia in that respect. For his height, he plays and acts like he's stronger. He also tackles and wins the ball back like he's stronger and taller than he actually is, and that's definitely a good thing. He won't have as much success winning duels in the Premier League. Blah, 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 blah. All right, cool. Right, then he talks about profiles of midfielders. What do we have? Tempo setter with Fernandes. I can agree with that. Caicedo, build-up resistant, somewhat defensively minded, ideally box-to-box without attacking effectiveness. Yeah, that's fair. Lavia, build-up resistant, defensively minded. Dewsbury Hall, midfielder that does attacking things. Ugo Chukwu, defensively minded. Santos, a bit of everything. Amougou is a build-up resistance player and possibly defensive-minded as well. Okay, so it's a fair, it's an all right hard call. I'm not sure I agree with the fact that it's a wise signing. I don't think the directors necessarily deserve praise at this moment in time. We'll have to see what happens. If we don't make Champions League, they should be sacked. That's my stance on it. They need to go if we don't get Champions League. If we do get Champions League, then you have shown progression. And progression is all that anyone could ask for within the fan base. Right, let's see what the comments are saying, guys. Let me come back to you. And then I'm going to see if there's anything else that I also need to touch on. But I don't think that there is. Have the Athletic come out with anything? Let's have a look. Chelsea are playing Man City's in the quarter final of the Women's Champions League as well, for those of you who don't know. Okay, yeah, nothing really. Nothing major to announce except for the Women's Champions League. Those of you who watch women's football. Are you, Siv? Hope you're doing well, mate. What do you think we should do tomorrow against Brighton with Marc, Guiu and Jackson possibly both being injured? Well, we'd have to play Nkunku. We would have to play him. I will be doing a proper preview for this match in the evening. So feel free to jump in and we can speak more about it then. But we want to be careful, don't we? We want to be careful. You look at the squad, the players that we have, you would expect to see more youth in this match, but also at the same time, you want to see some stability. You want to see some calm. Now, defensively, I don't want to see too many changes. I don't want to see a change from a goalkeeping perspective either. People obviously know that Sanchez is now the cup keeper. He's hopefully been demoted from league games, which should have happened months ago. But yeah, we can't see Sanchez playing this game. I mean, that's obvious. But I wouldn't want to see too many changes defensively. Now, maybe I'd see Gusto instead of Reece James. But apart from that, no changes from my perspective. I want to see maybe Colwell could be dropped, actually. So I would look at Jorgensen in goal, Gusto on the right, Cucurella on the left, and then Tosin and Chalobah together in the midfield. Dewsbury Hall partnered with Fernandez or Caicedo. To be honest, if we would have had more time with Amougou, then I would have even said maybe that could have been an option. But yeah, I think it's more like Caicedo and Dewsbury Hall. And then up top, who have we got? Tyreek George on the left, perhaps. Maybe we even see Achimpong, actually. I missed that Achimpong. He could play on the right, potentially, instead of Gusto. You could have Gusto on the left side if you want to rest Cucurella. Tyreek George is available. Marc Guiu is not, so you'll probably end up seeing Jackson again with Nkunku in behind. And then on the right side, I'd quite like to see Sancho on the right. I don't want to see Neto play. I want him to be rested. He's a player we have to take care of. He's injury prone. So yeah, that's what I'd see. It's a weaker team, but it's still a team capable of beating Brighton. And Brighton, as far as I'm aware, aren't in the best of form. Obviously, coming off that defeat against Nottingham Forest, it's definitely going to knock your confidence, isn't it? So yeah, that's my stance on it. If we play Champions League, then they see their project as a success. We will keep walking down this path. Time will tell. Time will tell. I would like to think that, look, we all know that the owners want to make money. There's no doubt about that. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. We know that money is a motivation here, but we also know that maintaining success within the club and within a certain spending structure, that other teams have been successful. Liverpool are a great example of that. Now, if we went down the route of doing anything like what Liverpool doing, in terms of, now it's different with Liverpool. They just don't spend much, and they don't sell their homegrown players, so they're not forced to spend as much. But then the players they buy are extremely effective, and they will spend big money, but not often. We've gone down a totally different route, which is spending a lot of money on a lot of young players and essentially flipping them like their houses. Yeah, flipping it like it's real estate. But if that works for us, and in 10 years' time we're bringing through our own talent, and we're also able to buy the best young talent and develop it abroad with Strasbourg and other clubs, then I don't think it's a problem. I really don't. But the problem is if you've got owners who are trying to milk the club and the club is not successful either. That's when I have a problem. We don't want to end up like Tottenham, like United. That's bad. I think best case scenario, we end up like Liverpool. But again, who knows? You just can't tell. These things, time is the best way of figuring it out. When facing a low block, Palmer picks up the ball mostly close to the middle of the pitch. This doesn't help us score goals. Exactly. So play him higher up the pitch on the right-hand side, and then he will get the ball more, because it's hard to man-mark a winger without having players dragged out of position, unless you are just one-on-one with a fullback. Maybe you got another winger dropping deep as well to help him out. Nkunku is our second most talented player. It's a shame that he's not playing. It is a shame. I'd like to see him perform more and play more. I completely agree. I want to see him play in his best position as well. I don't think Palm on the right works for Maresca's system, though. Well, if you don't try, you don't know. He's clearly good enough on the ball. He's clearly good enough in terms of the creative aspect. He can score goals from the right-hand side, which we haven't seen from Madueke or any other winger, to be quite frank. So I think it's absolutely worth trying something different. We saw Palmer play his best football on the right wing under Poch. So by definition, you would argue that it is a possibility to see him play well on the right for Maresca as well. That lineup with a right back that goes forward a lot would be great, like towards the end of the season when Gusto played like a right winger and Palmer as a right cam. I think it works really well. You're going to get the best out of both of those players. Gusto is not suited to the way that Maresca wants to play. That is the unfortunate truth. If Maresca doesn't give Gusto a license to run forward more, which is what Gusto's good at, then I think that you will see Gusto being moved on at some point, because he's just dead wood. He's dead wood. If he's not able to do what he's good at, he's dead wood. What do you think we should do tomorrow against Brighton? I've already answered that question, haven't I? Shimweka. Oh, yeah, the striker. I thought that... yeah, he won't play. He won't play. If he does play, I'll be very surprised. Very surprised. Amougou, yes, he is our Santos replacement at Strasbourg. That's correct. Big up to you, CA Matthew. I hope you're doing very well, mate. How is things? Caicedo, Enzo, and Lavi are all big money signings because they're all press resistant and can break a press, but we don't play through the middle. Our centre backs hold the ball and bypass our midfield in the breakup. Yeah, absolutely. You are absolutely right there. I don't really have much to say. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Who do you think will play a striker with Jackson and Guiu out? I think Jackson is available. He's in doubt, but he is available. Guiu is out. Jackson could still feature. Now, if he doesn't feature, then maybe we will see this man. Maybe. But I doubt that. I really do doubt that. You might even see a false nine. Who knows? Probably Nkunku up top in that case, if we're being totally honest. Chalobah tossing centre backs. I completely agree with you. That would be nice to see. Maresca's tactics are so predictable. Even opposing managers say they know what Chelsea will do in pre-game press conferences. Yes, that's fair. I mean, we wouldn't have said that at the beginning of the season, though. We tweaked the system quite a lot. So, I mean, you can't say over the whole season we've been predictable. when we were having a great run, we were changing things quite a lot. We played, different setups with the fullbacks. At times we had a back three. We had the diamond shape against Leicester as well, where we were able to include Joao Felix in that squad. So we certainly have changed things. But irrespective of what they know we're going to do, it's also about in-game management. And you can see what a difference being proactive makes, like it happened against West Ham. Potter set West Ham up in a way that other teams have been able to capitalize against us and get results. And Maresca was very intelligent with his substitutions, and they all made an impact. They were good subs. And we just need more of that. We are going to be leaning heavily on our manager to get us through this period. If he is not able to win us games during the match with in-game subs and tweaks, then we're going to struggle, because we don't have the arsenal to just be able to put players on and outscore teams and keep clean sheets. These are young players that need help. But you also have to remember it's a young manager as well. So you would argue that he needs time, but there is no time. If we don't get Champions League football, it's a disgrace. We can all agree on that. So get us Champions League and I'll shut up. We'll shut up. I mean, not everybody will. You've got people who are still unhappy, but I will be happier if we have Champions League football, because that will put us in a healthy position as a club. That's my stance on it. Liverpool owners keep the money and our owners don't. If we had FFG, you lot would be crying every day. Well, I would love to be top of the Premier League table. I'd love to be top of the Champions League table. I'd love to be in an FA Cup final. Sorry, is it an FA Cup final? No, a Carabao Cup final. So you say that, but whatever FFG's doing is clearly working. There was short-term pain, but in the long term, they've actually performed very well. And they're a very well-run club. And when they sign players, they sign good players. They sign Van Dijks and they sign Alissons. And they don't sell their youngest talents that they produce themselves. So there's things about FSG that you could say are not too bad. But absolutely, again, we know it's about money. I'm not debating that. It's just different methods, isn't it? I agree with that, but also with Poch, Palmer drifted inside anyway, but with the Maresca system, he doesn't want his wingers doing that. Look, if you don't try, you don't know. That's my perspective on it. And if we never see Palmer play on the right, then we're always going to be curious as to what would happen if he did. Also, it's not just about Palmer. It's about the other players being able to play within the system in their best position. Now, do you think it's better to play Nkunku on the wing or Palmer? It's obviously going to be Palmer. It's the same with Joao Felix. It's the same with Chukwuemeka. All of these players that we could have actually got something out of, but we could never give them that opportunity because that position was permanently taken week in, week out by Palmer, who deserves to play, of course, but could we not be a little bit more flexible? That's my stance. Why are we so stagnant in build-up? Jackson's the only player that makes off-the-ball runs. How are we supposed to break low blocks like this? Who knows, man? Who knows? Again, we're trying to get used to a system now. Year one. We're going to have our periods. Maresca had something similar at Leicester. Very stringent, very stubborn. He has his way of playing. He doesn't want to change it, and that's fine. Just win the games. And then next year, I hope with more quality, we can look like we're a better football team as well, and we can actually play this way with a bit more potency. I see the same thing every game from Maresca with the same mistakes. De Zerbi was the right Italian, not Maresca. I disagree. De Zerbi would have fallen out with the ownership by now, and that would have been on the board because they were in charge of recruiting the manager. He would have not been the long-term solution. He's not a manager that tends to be part of long-term projects. He plays nice football, but that's about it. Also, he doesn't have a track record of winning things. So very difficult to prove that De Zerbi was the man ahead of Maresca in my eyes. I do think that Maresca was the best manager out of the ones that were available, and that includes De Zerbi, Thomas Frank, and Ian McKenna as well, Maresca was the best choice. I made a video about that as well at the time, which you can refer back to if you want to. FSG won league title in 33 years. Great run club. That's such a stupid comment, though, isn't it? Because look at who they've been competing against and who else has won league titles since FSG has been in charge. They've absolutely done well at Liverpool. They've won the Champions League. They've won the Premier League. They won the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup. This is all in the wake of Pep Guardiola winning 4 Premier Leagues in a row and being absolutely unstoppable. Look at the amount of points that they finished on consistently. You can't say that they're not a good, well-run club. They're a very well-run club. Probably alongside Brighton, the best-run club in the Premier League, if we're being totally honest. Yeah. They don't throw money at everything, but they're very successful. So I can't take that seriously. Yeah, good point. We need to try and Nkunku in the 10. Definitely utilize him in his best position. There you go. Right, guys. Well, we've had an hour. So if you haven't already, smash the like buttons. I have no idea what we're on, but smash the like button. And I will be back at 8 o'clock with another show. I'll be doing a proper preview for the Brighton game. So I'll be doing my predicted 11 as well as the score prediction and going through everything regarding our squad and also Brighton squad as well. Big up to everyone that's watched, and I will catch up very, very soon, and I will see you this evening.